OMNIUM CXC V3. In this frameset overview, we're gonna be seeing the frame specs with all the details that make this frame so unique. We're gonna be doing a tire clearance test, we're gonna have a look at the geometry, a price and weight comparison with similar frames, and a price comparison between the complete bike and an imaginary build, plus some conclusions. In OMNIUM's own words, the CXC is a quick, agile and versatile bike that can do pretty much anything: gravel, cyclocross, world tour, alley cat or commute. The CXC is a true Swiss Army knife. There's nothing more versatile. Frameset specs. The tubes are 4130 chromoly with a triple-butted main triangle. You know, most middle-range, good quality steel frames in the market have double-butted tubes that are thinner in the middle section so they can save some weight. The V3, on the other hand, has a triple-butted main triangle, which means the tubes are thinner in the middle section, but also one end is thinner than the other. So there are three different thicknesses. This way they can be more precise when adding stiffness or compliance to each part of the frame and save some weight in the process. The frame is protected inside with an ED coating or electrophoretic deposition, which basically means the inside of the frame is well protected against rust. The color of this frame is called glossy forest green, but honestly the screen doesn't do it justice. All OMNIUM colors are very well chosen, and this one is probably my favorite one. It's really stunning in real life. The CXC V3 version has rocker dropouts. Here there is a pivot, and so by unscrewing these screws, the dropout plate, including the wheel and the brake caliper, of course, will all slide back and forth. This is a necessary feature for when using internal gear hubs or a single-speed drivetrain. So by sliding the dropouts, you can tension the chain, but also allows you to play with the length of the chainstays. By sliding the dropouts all the way to the back, you'll have more tire clearance, and by moving them forward, you'll have a more reactive rear end. The dropouts have a little difference from previous models with sliding dropouts like this. You see the brake caliper used to be outside the stays and now it is inside, which makes cable routing via down tube nice and clean. Generally speaking, it's always better to have the brake caliper inside the frame because the brake caliper itself is more protected, but also because the braking forces will go on the chainstay instead of going on the seat stay, which is a smaller tube. And as a solution, some manufacturers would reinforce the seat stay by adding a little tube between the seat stay and the chainstay, but that can be less appealing aesthetic-wise. The frame is compatible with carbon belts thanks to this joint on the seat stay where the belt can be slid in position. The fork is a very handsome segmented fork with straight blades. It has triple mounts for anything cages, plus mounts for a front rack and fenders. Previous models of the CXC had a traditional fork crown like this. This new segmented fork helps to prevent vibrations under heavy braking. Tire clearance. The official tire clearance is 700 by 40 mm with fenders and 700 by 45 mm without fenders. Here I'm testing a 50 mm tire on the fork, and as you can see, there is enough room even for fenders. For the back, it depends on the position of the dropouts. When the sliding dropouts are all the way to the front, I'm able to fit this 43 mm Panaracer Gravel King SK, and I still have about 8 mm clearance on the chainstays and the seat tube. So they fit fine, but with not much room left for fenders. When the dropouts are all the way to the back, I'm able to fit a sleek 50 mm Schwalbe G1 Speed, and I still have 5 mm between the tire and the chainstay. Can you install 650B tires on this bike? For that, we need to see if the bottom bracket is high enough so that by reducing the diameter of the wheel and therefore the height of the frame in relation to the ground, we don't get any risk of pedal strike. The bottom bracket height with 700 by 40 mm tires is 293 millimeters. And here I'm using this amazing source bikeinsights.com that I totally recommend, and I'll put the link in the description below. These tires have an external diameter of 702 millimeters. How do we get to this outer diameter? Well, it is the rim bit diameter, which is 622 millimeters, plus the tire width twice. So let's say that we are using the same tire width, but with 650B wheels, which have a bit diameter of 584 millimeters. The new external diameter is 664 millimeters. So it's 702 compared to 664. But what really counts for the height of the bike is the bottom part. So the difference is 351 minus 332, and that equals 19 millimeters. So the bottom bracket height would go for 293 millimeters to 274 millimeters, which is a little low actually. You know, touring bikes have a low bottom bracket height to increase stability when the bike is loaded. Well, here is the comparison with a traditional touring bike like the Surly Disc Tracker, and we are 4 millimeters lower than that. So ideally, if you want to go for 650B wheels, you should put at least 44 millimeters tires, and that would get you to the same bottom bracket height as the Surly Disc Tracker. Looking for some examples on 650B, I found these really nice builds from Baroudeur Cycles, and they are using 47mm tires without any trouble, and in some cases even more. I'll put the link to this gallery in the description so you can get some inspiration. Geometry. Long reach and low stack. It's a geometry that for most people will work better with flat bars than drop bars. But if you want to put drop bars on this frame, you just have to keep in mind that you're gonna have a very aggressive position, and if you're not used to it, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. Flat bars, on the other hand, will give you much more flexibility. You can always get a handlebar with a sweep back or with a few centimeters raise. Thanks to the rocker dropouts, you can play with the length of the chainstays. You can either have them all the way to the front with 40 to 43mm tires, and the rear end will feel pretty reactive with a chainstay length of 410mm, which is very short. It's almost like a road bike length. On the other hand, if you put the dropouts all the way to the back, you'll have enough room for bigger tires and fenders with a chainstay length of 427mm. The top tube. I know this is pure aesthetics, but I'm a fan of horizontal top tubes. I find it makes the geometry look more pure, more like the traditional diamond geometry frames of the past. Weight and price comparison. The OMNIUM CXC on size medium weighs 3.7 kilos for the frame set, and it has a very friendly price of 670 euros. Another bike with similar standards and similar tire clearance is the Brother Cycle Kepler. On size medium, it weighs 3.44 kilos and it costs about 650 pounds, which is about $740 or euros. This is the end of 2022, so prices can vary in the future or conversions can vary in the future. Then we have the Surly Straggler, built out of 4130 chromoly and with a slightly less tire clearance. It weighs 3.32 kilos for the size 54, and I was able to find it online for about 700 euros or dollars. And finally, I want to add a bike that's a little bit different, a traditional touring bike like the Surly Disc Tracker. It's just to see how it compares, especially in terms of weight. Disc Tracker has a tire clearance of 47mm on 700 wheels, and it weighs 3.67 kilos in size 56. This bike sells for about 750 euros/dollars. So we can say the OMNIUM CXC has a very interesting price tag, especially considering features like the ability to slip in a carbon band drive system, a very unique segmented fork, the rocker dropouts, and the through axles. In terms of weight, it comes about the same weight as a traditional touring bike like the Surly Disc Tracker. It is a little bit surprising because the triple-butted main triangle is not really helping to have a more competitive overall weight, but I guess it is because the bike is really prepared to withstand messenger cycling life and probably some load as well, and that comes with a couple of 100 grams of extra weight. Build versus complete bike. This is a list of components that could make for a nice, good quality-price ratio build. It's just an exercise to see how much it would cost. The quality level of most of the components would be Shimano Dior, and I would consider some luxury items like a 150 euros Nito stem or an 80 euros Surly handlebar or a 90 euros Brook saddle. And the final price is only 160 euros more than the complete bike, which is pretty good for a custom build. So this list of components can maybe give you some inspiration for your own build. Conclusions. Considering the level of details and quality of the finishings, this frameset sells at a very good price. The rocker dropouts are easy to adjust and contribute to the versatility of the bike, allowing for single speed, internal gear hubs, and different chainstay lengths for different riding styles. Plus, there is the necessary joint for slipping in a carbon belt drive. The bike is not light, but it is sturdy and made to endure messenger life in the city. I think this bike would be perfect for commuting, gravel cycling, and even light touring. Personally, if I was looking for a cyclocross bike, I would look for a lighter frameset. And if I was looking for a real world tour touring bike, I would look for something specially designed for that purpose, like the Surly Bridge Club or the Ricci Ascent, which we have already reviewed on this channel, and I leave the links somewhere over here, so you can go and check them out. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.